In this video, I show you how I evaluate NFT and gaming projects and kind of figure out whether they're a good buy or not. And this is more based on actual fundamentals versus based on, let's say hype or trends, right? So a lot of these profile pick projects out there, they're really based more on hype. There's not that much underlying value. It's more based on the trend. Some of them are based on actual underlying values, such as Bored Ape Yacht Club or Doodles, but a lot of them aren't. So what I like to do is I like to focus instead on utility and gaming based projects. And I like to focus on projects that give holders upside. So today we're going to run through an example, which is Solana Money Boys. They've recently hit a 9 SOL floor. I bought 2 at 1.5 SOL, and I'm going to show you my decision process for deciding whether I want to buy more right now or if I want to wait until there's a dip and I can buy in at a lower price point. So the key here is I'm focusing on the actual ROI that I think I can get based on what they've said in their white paper. So guys, before we get into the evaluation criteria, I just want to show you what Solana Money Boys is. Solana Money Boys essentially is they're building an NFT dashboard, right? And what this allows you to do is allow you to track your whole portfolio, whether it be in crypto coins or in basically your NFTs, right? So they're essentially building an NFT dashboard, right? And some of the key things they want to build here is they want to obviously allow you to track your assets, and including NFTs, which is a big pain point. They want to allow you to buy and sell NFTs. They want to also create these DAO metrics and a dashboard for your own assets. The DAO metrics is actually really interesting because you can create a dashboard for your project that gives your community key insights into different metrics about your collection. Now, what's really interesting is they want to build a marketplace where you can accept crypto payments for buying and selling crypto services. So whether you're a developer or marketer or you're a project, they essentially want to build a marketplace where you can buy services, sell services. So if you're a project looking for talent, you can source them. Now, this is somewhere off in the future, and this could be potentially huge, right? Because this could be something like the Upwork of crypto, which, Upwork, honestly, it's pretty mediocre. Something that's crypto native and it's kind of a dashboard for buying and selling could be incredibly valuable. That's a marketplace and project that could really scale hard. So to just give you an idea, the market cap of Upwork is $3 billion, right? So that's a potential here, right? But obviously that's way off. What they're really planning to do with this is they're planning to sell this service to people who don't hold an NFT for $24 a month and people who do hold an NFT only for $0 a month. Obviously, this pricing is subject to change. Now, right over here, they have this kind of roadmap where they show what they've done. So they built their website, they've had a bunch of waitlist signups, they've airdropped a bunch of Money Boy coins to their holders, and they've also had whitelist spots for botbergs. Now, what they're working on is their Solana Diamond Boys, which is essentially a free collection, and the NFT Radar tool, which allows you to essentially track the top collections on Solana. And then they're coming out with the dashboard access, a custom marketplace for their NFT collection, and the Money Girls, which is an airdrop of Solana Money Girls, which is kind of the companion collection, and then the public dashboard launch, doing a podcast and newsletter, figuring out how to revenue share with the DAO and Merc and Hackathon, etc. So they do have a bunch of stuff coming up. Now their NFT, it's 4,444 Money Boys. I think they minted at 0.33 SOL. At this point, they're selling at 9 SOL. So I bought in at 1.5 SOL. Now, what we're going to be doing is figuring out, is this a good price point to buy in, or should you wait for it to go down a bit before you buy in? So right now, they're a pretty high floor price and only 79 listed. So this is actually very, very good for them, right? This is definitely like taking off. However, I want to take a look at the fundamentals and not just the hype. So the evaluation criteria, let's dive into it, right? So I'm going to share my screen, show you the basically the gaming and utility investment evaluation. So this isn't the complete evaluation criteria. I'm still working on that, but this is kind of the main things I look at when I'm looking at a new project. The first is the team fully doxed? Are they planning to dox themselves soon? So with these guys, so this is really important, especially for projects with execution risk like gaming and utility, because projects where you're essentially buying in based on future utility or a future game coming out, they really require great execution. And really, when I am looking into a project like that, I'm backing the team. If I don't know who the team is, I can't back the team. That can reduce my investment quite a bit, right? So in this case, they have said that they are currently not doxxed, but possibly in the future. They've been considering it, and they will announce more info about it to their seed fund, investors, etc. And they're basically, from what it sounds like, they're looking at raising VC funding and getting investors on board, and they might dox themselves after that. So that's essentially what's going on with their doxing situation. So as they're currently undoxed, this increases the risk quite a bit, and this needs to be taken into account. So typically a doxed team versus undoxed team, immediately what that does is it reduces my entry point that I consider acceptable by 50%. So if I would normally consider, let's say, a 10 SOL entry point reasonable, if the team isn't doxed, I'll cut that down to 5 SOL, right? So that's the first thing that we're looking at. I talked to a lot of really savvy NFT and gaming and utility investors, and they all say the same thing, right? So it's not just me. Usually if you're doxed, you're going to get people buying in far more aggressively. Now let's get to the second evaluation criteria. Can future utility be calculated? So what is the main business model behind the market cap and valuation? For Solana Money Boys, it's the NFT SaaS, which they are much closer to building out, and then potentially long-term a marketplace for services. So essentially Upwork for Solana and the crypto ecosystem. So the NFT dashboard will be free for Solana Money Boy holders, which is a form of value for sure. And the team is pretty ambitious, and if fully executed, this could be a powerful ecosystem. Now, what is the valuation of similar projects in this market? It's hard to find information on this, but if they're able to acquire paid users for SaaS, the market cap could rapidly grow. So I actually did a little yield calculator looking at kind of different market caps, right? Yeah, I think the $10 to $15 million market cap is fairly reasonable. 5 million is conservative. And then obviously 30 and 100 is more aggressive. Now Upwork is 3 billion, right? So if the team's able to execute, yes, it's possible they could have $1 billion market cap, in which case this would be a no-brainer. But again, until I know who the team is, I'm gonna look at what they're building right now and not what they could potentially build, right? So when the team reveals their identity and I can see that, hey, these guys are a bunch of software experts, these guys are a bunch of entrepreneurs, then I will, start looking at those moonshot case scenarios. But if you look at this, the way we've set this up is, again, this is inaccurate because the floor price has gone up a bit. A week ago, it was around 4 SOL or 5 SOL. I think now it's at 9 SOL. So the floor price is 2 times higher. So that's going to change the numbers. Those are kind of like some valuation numbers that I'm running at, right? Are these scenarios realistic, right? So this is relatively conservative. You want to be conservative in this. So I think $10 to $15 million is doable because that's quite reasonable for a smaller crypto project. This isn't necessarily something that I have a lot of other projects to compare to. If you guys have other projects that you've seen in other ecosystems that have built a SaaS tool like this, I would love to see it. But I do think that $10 to $15 million market caps are more reasonable, right? As opposed to 30 to 100 or even 5 million, I think is a bit conservative. It may start out here, but could potentially be higher than that. So again, these are very guesstimates, right? These are big guesstimates. But the thing is, the process of going through this guesstimation process kind of at least gives you something to think about versus just blindly buying in, right? Now, are the tokenomics favorable to NFT holders, right? Because what the benefits of this project are is, number one, they had this Money Boy airdrop. I think they've already done most of the airdrops. So I got 1,000 per NFT, and I think they have 500 coming up. I'm not sure if they still do or if it's already been airdropped, but there should be 500 tokens coming up. So I essentially took the token supply. So they're supposed to have 600 million as their total diluted token supply. I took the market cap and I got a value per token. So I got a value for the upcoming 500 token airdrop based on these scenarios of, let's say, 5 million, 10 million, etc. So that's kind of a guesstimate. Now, another thing about these Solana Money Boys is for the next 4 to 5 years, you're going to have a token emission of basically, once they come out with their ecosystem, you're going to have a yield per day of 20 tokens. I think it increases based on rarity, but for the base versions is around 20 tokens per day. So it comes out to, based on these values per token, comes out to this much per, I believe, per day and this much per year. So essentially at a $5 million market cap, each of these NFTs brings in $60 a year, right? And that's at a $5 million market cap. 15 million, that's $182, which starts looking a lot better. considering that this could go on for 5 years based on what their team have told me. So this is just per year. So I do have for 2 years because I do think looking 5 years out is a little aggressive. So I kind of based my ROI based on this. Now again, this is based on the previous value of their NFTs. Now it's at 9 Sol, so this is kind of 2x. So these numbers would kind of change. But based on this, even at a 5 million to 10 million market cap, you're looking at a solid ROI. Now let's just update the current floor price, which is around 8 Sol, I believe, or 8.99 Sol. So 8.99 Solana in USD. So $823. So let's see what these numbers look like if we... So obviously at the current price, the ROI does go down quite a bit. Now, how do I calculate this ROI? One of the ways I look at this is the SaaS axis, right? So the software, if it's at $27 a month, you save $292 per year by basically holding a Solana Money Boys. Now this doesn't scale because if you hold one, you already have access to it. So this is just a calculation for one NFT. If you're doing like 2 NFTs, then this would kind of basically be half of that because you're splitting the cost. So essentially over 2 years, the SaaS kind of saves you 2 times 292, and then you have this basically yield per year. And if you do over 5 years, you do get a great ROI. But as you can see right now, the current price, the ROI looks reasonable, and it's really only at the basically once you get to the $30 to $100 million market cap that things start looking really favorable. So that's just purely based on 2 things, right? That's number 1, based on token emissions, which is based on the details they've given me at this point. Again, I made this document around a week ago. Some things may have changed, but this is kind of what I had. And then the second piece of the puzzle was how much money you save from the software, right? So when I purchased, it was really a no-brainer in terms of the ROI over a couple of years if they execute reasonably well, which I think they can because they've been doing a great job. Now, the other potential opportunity here is they've talked about revenue share, right? So let's say this is purely theoretical. These numbers are completely made up again, but this is a mental exercise to just kind of go through various scenarios. So this is basically my assumption based on the revenue share percentage, obviously divided over the NFT supply. So if they have 1,000 paid users and they're making 24,000, I believe it's $24 per month. So if they're doing 1,000 times $24 a month and they have a total revenue of $24,000 from their software and 30% of that goes to NFT holders, then I come to this number, which is basically you take 30% of this and divide by 4,444, and that's the revenue share per year, which isn't much if they have 1,000 users. Now, if they have 10,000, that number starts going up, right? $194 a year is pretty good, right? Now, if you look at their goal, which is to have 25,000, right? And let's say of those 25,000, it's perhaps 20,000 that are paid, then you're looking at $389 per year. So then you would add that. I haven't added that into this number here yet, just because of the fact that that's still so far away in terms of the rev share, in terms of how they can even do it. But if you do that, then those numbers start looking a lot better. And this 1,030 would actually end up being around 1,400. And that's a much more reasonable ROI. So that's kind of like, I hope that gives you an idea of how I look at these projects. Again, this is pretty conservative. This is very conservative. I go more aggressive if the team is doxxed and if they have very in-depth roadmaps, but this is very conservative. This is very kind of like, hey, is this project like reasonably likely to do well? Now there's a couple things they do mention, right? So they mentioned that if they do bring on VCs, they'll have longer term vesting schedules for the VCs. So they're very focused on making sure the NFT holders are taken care of. And they also mentioned mechanisms to ensure a lower circulating supply versus the fully diluted supply. So they only will have 20% in any one time. So if there's utility in this token, right? So for example, this token is used for transaction fees in the marketplace, that could be a huge revenue source, right? So if they're essentially go the whole Upwork model, that could be pretty big. Again, as I mentioned in that spreadsheet, I outlined some scenarios in there, and that could definitely add a lot of value to the project if they can make it work. Now from there, the third thing I like to look at is what's the community like? Is there benefits and value to being in their holders only Discord? So there is, the community is great, good vibes, definitely a lot of alpha in there. I've actually had a lot of really great experiences, especially from if you hold their NFT, they have an alpha poll channel, which, again, this is really valuable. And they basically allows you to see what the sentiment is on various upcoming mints. So you can kind of see that, yeah, these are the projects that are going to do well. Hopefully the team doesn't mind me sharing this, but this is one of the reasons why I like this project. So I wanted to show you guys what you can get if you do join in. Now, so that gets a pass from me. And that, in my opinion, is like another reason to consider buying in. Now, is there a potential trend the NFT could latch onto and moon, right? So in certain cases, there are trends that happen and projects just moon. So there is a potential. Utility NFTs are fairly popular. And again, I think that's why the pump has happened recently. I bought in at 2 at 1.5 Sol. Now it's at 9 Sol. So the problem is with these utility projects is it's really hard for the average Solana degen to understand. For these utility projects, I think the people who are buying in are usually people who understand the fundamentals, and maybe some people who are on it because they're like, oh, this might be the next shadowy supercoder, but they don't really understand it, right? But really, mostly it's going to be people buying for the fundamentals. So often with these ones, it's just if the fundamentals are solid, the NFT will do well. If the team delivers, the NFT will do well. So if the team keeps executing, it will rise in value. However, it is quite sad, but the Solana ecosystem, I think right now is just filled with low quality projects. There's just so many trash projects out there and people love buying in. I think the reason for that is the fact that in Solana, you don't have high transaction fees, so the cost of selling is low, so people just pay per hand easily, while in Ethereum, if you're paying $200 in gas, you're not going to sell something just like that, right? Like people usually stick around for Ethereum projects more. So that is the problem with the Solana ecosystem. I think one of the big issues is, for example, it's kind of celebrated that culture of just being a degenerate. It's fun to a point, but at this point, I think it's really hurting the ecosystem on Solana, which is why me personally, I do buy on Solana, but I also buy a lot of Ethereum projects because I find that basically people are much more mature. So what's the verdict on this project? So there are some decent potential returns the team can execute. I think a 2 to 3x return is easily doable if you buy in at the right price point. Even at this stage, at the 9 Sol price point, it's possible. It's just they'll have to hit this $30 million market cap, hit the SaaS rev share as well. And, I think that's quite reasonable. Now, if they're able to build the marketplace and turn it into the Upwork of Solana, then I think this can easily go to 100 Sol floor, 200 Sol floor. It's doable, right? Like there's no reason why they can't do that. However, at this price point, I would say at 9 Sol, I would hesitate on buying. I think at the 5 Sol or lower price point is where I would purchase. So I would keep an eye out on their floor. If it goes down to 5 Sol or below, I would go in. Now, here's the thing. If this team was fully doxed, I would be very comfortable saying, hey, 8 to 9 Sol. If their team was fully doxed, I knew who they were. I looked at their LinkedIns. I thought their experience. Then it could be possible for me to basically purchase based on the team. Because half of the decision for me when I'm buying NFTs is, do I trust the team and their vision, right? Do I like the team? I'm backing people. I'm not backing projects. I really do think that people who are exceptional are more likely to make their project work even if they have to pivot versus just some anonymous people, right? So if these guys dox themselves, I think I would be comfortable even buying in at the 8 to 9 Sol price point if they are an experienced team. But at this point, I don't know if these guys are a bunch of 19-year-olds who never run a business, or if these guys are SaaS serial entrepreneurs who've scaled businesses to $1 million a year, right? Like I have no idea where they lie on that spectrum. So that for me is one of the reasons why I'd say 5 Sol is the price point I would buy up to. And then anything over that, I'd just be hesitant. Again, if you're a Solana project, just dox yourself. It's going to make life so much easier. People are going to buy it. And it just makes things 10 times easier. But yeah, guys, hopefully that gives you an idea of how I evaluate these utility and gaming projects. I really look at the white paper, roadmap, look at various scenarios, chart them out in like a little Excel spreadsheet. And then based on that, I kind of decide, okay, is this a decent investment or not, right? Now, a lot of times you can go based on narratives as well. So you can decide that, hey, there's this narrative that's happening. For example, Asian NFT projects are doing really well. So that's a narrative, but you have to understand with narrative, they can quickly explode and then as quickly die down, right? So those are more risky. So you have to have an understanding of both narratives as well as fundamentals. And then when you have an understanding of both, you're just more likely to be effective with this whole NFT game and gaming investment game, right? So guys, this is not financial advice. This is not basically do your own research. Don't blame me if you buy this or if you don't buy this. I mean, there's a good chance these guys could moon to like 50 SOL tomorrow. I don't know, but this is my view on the project. I am bullish on them. Again, I got in at a lower price point. A lot of these NFT influencers, they like to talk about how bullish they're on a project when they've already had 50x returns because they know they can dump on you. So I don't want to dump on you. I'm telling you right now that I think this project has some strong potential, but I would personally, if I were you, wait for a 5 SOL or lower price point to buy in, unless you get some information that justifies this increased price. And please make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, let me know what projects you'd like to cover. And also, if you're a Solana gaming project, hit me up on Twitter. I am basically looking to help projects out with their marketing, provide some feedback based on what I'm seeing and the evaluation criteria I use. And so I'd love to talk to some more project owners to see if there's perhaps something we can work out to help you guys make your projects more appealing to investors versus just, making it like every other project out there where I just see the same mistakes happening over and over with these Solana gaming projects. So I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.